Okay, so to start our session, may I request Miss Janice Warren to lead us a prayer? Miss Janice, please. Miss Janice, are you still there? Christian, Christian Malyari, sir.
Sorry, ma'am, nawala ko.
Janice, please.
Okay, she start. Shall we bow our heads for a word of prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, we would like to thank you, oh God, for this day to gather and also hear what that we day. Lord, open our hearts and minds so we could um, understand what we are able to hear today. Bless our teacher, our classmates, and also our families and friends. Give us always provide us our needs and also protect us from any past harms and dangers. Thank you so much, oh God, for this opportunity of gathering together for this day. And also, if we would like to ask forgiveness of our sins in thoughts, in words, and in deeds. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good afternoon. How are you today? How are you, Miss Estela? How are you, Miss Sarah? How's everyone?
Amen.
Very good.
Um,
Okay. So
thank you for time for
it's a fine day. Uh, I would like to remind each one that our program will be visited by the Expo accreditors on May 18 up to 20. And probably the schedule for class observation is on May 20. And that is Friday. I hope your time is available on that particular day. Okay, so let's have a simple recall on what we have done, what we have discussed 2 weeks ago. Let me know are what were our inputs during that time. I would like to hear from Miss Lara.
Yes po. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Doc Gemma. Uh, Last 2 weeks po, ma'am, yung decision po namin ni Minyo.
Yes.
Actually po, ma'am, nakapasok po ako sa session is nung, I think it was 5 pa po. Kasi
Okay.
yes po, last 2 weeks po is wala po ako kasi biyahe po pa Bukid noon. Kasi namatay po yung wala ng ano ko, yung husband ko.
You go direct to the point.
So, yes po, yun po, hindi ko po alam yung session yung last meeting po kasi hindi po ako naka-join sa session po.
And what was the last topic?
Okay po. We gathered about the ethical theory based on 4 principles and so on so far. Yun po, tinakal natin yung about sa research process and then yung at saka pinag-usapan din natin yung about sa mga mga pinasa naming mga output po.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Roxani. May I request others to please volunteer as to what we have discussed last week, few weeks old. May I hear from Miss Chin Chin? Chin Chin, you on the floor?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Last time, ma'am, di ako nakapasok nun, ma'am ba? May work kasi ako.
Okay, so let's proceed to our main topic for this afternoon. So today you are all expected to learn more about writing a quantitative research. Given an example, which is my publication, and the objective is for us to learn more about writing a review of related literature. So if you have questions, along the way, feel free to open your microphones so that. Okay, so I will to you a publication of mine. It is published in research journal, and is tools and the first of competencies in the Philippine schools. So that's the title. Now, the original title of my dissertation is actually Assessment of Principals' Competencies in Public Schools. And I came up with this result, title because the result of my study says that students and educational attainment has significant influence principle in quantitative research. Specifically, it will divide them. You always look into the variables. Here, the variables are status, educational attainment, and also to have principles competence. Ito yung ating variables. After our previous learning, na about variables, about autonomy and conceptual framework, we educational attainment are considered as dependent variable, and competencies is the dependent variable. Meaning to say, in this study, the problematic issue is on competencies. Let's see how an abstract is being crafted up to the other contents of the paper. So when you talk about the abstract, it will lead you to a summary of the whole study. Summary ng whole study mo, in which sa summary na yun, doon mo makikita yung mga parts, the parts which are very important. And it will include the following. So the first consideration in writing your abstract is it should contain a minimum of 190 words to a maximum of 210. So please take note of that. Sa paggawa ng abstract, you have to consider 190 minimum words up to 10 words. Your should contain 5 parts. So what are those 5 parts? First, the introduction to the topic. Introduction to the topic. So in here, you notice that I have stated principals play the role as leaders of school management and are responsible for the outcome of the school. In one sense, but it means a topic already. And then, secondly is, what is the chief purpose or objective of the study? The abstract again, it is written here as the essentials of this study, the level of the core principles in public and school and so or purpose and objectives, the goals, define the issues that about the competencies as seen by themselves and teachers was sufficient. The level of personal skills for is not basically that is or managerial capability, strategic management, inter and interpersonal relationship, as well as the link to the community. Combined contribution of the personal demographics does not significantly influence the level of core competencies. Status stood out as a significant predictor of managerial ability. The best picture of the competency on academic leadership and coaching educational attainment. And study concludes that level of core competence principals could contribute to underperforming schools. It is alarming to note that the principals will continuing professional development. And below that one are the keywords. Keywords are those important words which you utilize in your studies. And have also the method that's described correct design, or you can also include an statistical tool gamit to have regression analysis, then the play. That's how it is. So that's how I your any question based on the presentation for abstract making. Naintindihan ba? Yes or no? Okay, I want to hear feedback. Ganyan lang kasimple ang paggawa ng abstract. Yes, Miss Stella. O yun nga. Okay, last part is all about. The first one is yung introduction to the topic. Second is for method. Quantitative, qualitative, or mixed method. So, ganun ang way of writing it. So, in here, in example of my publication paper, I am using descriptive method. And then after that, you have the results and the discussion or conclusion, results and conclusion. So those are the parts. So please take note of that because time will come, you will be offered to publish your paper, and I guess that is a very good point, especially kapag nasa DepEd kayo. Okay, let me proceed to the introduction. So this will pave a way for you to look into how you will write your introduction. So in your introduction, bago ko makalimutan, baka hindi nyo nakuha yung keywords na binanggit ko kanina. So when you write your keywords, this will include the discipline of the study. No? Ano ba yung focus ng study mo? Or that is referring to the discipline of your study. For example, you have educational administration, or you have about psychology, depende rin sa topic mo. And then the concept studied. So the concept studied is all about core competency. Then, ano yung design, ano yung process. That's descriptive correlation design. And then the city and the country. And you have to set keywords in a sentence case. Next, let's proceed to introduction. Okay, in the introduction, ideally, when you publish a paper, the first section should contain global situational analysis of the problem, which is supported by literature from different continents. So that's the first section in writing your introduction. Okay. So when you talk about global situational analysis of the problem, it means to say that your first paragraph should establish the problematic issue. And how will you prove that your study, no, your topic is a problematic issue? That is by way of supporting it with a literature from different continents. So look at the crafted introduction in my publication. It says here that in the context of schools, a quest for an effective school has been regarded as crucial to the efforts of upgrading students' achievement. And to improve school and classroom conditions, the role of the school head is very significant in supervising teachers and keeping in track with the student learning outcomes. Those are authored by Hallinger, Heck, 1998, Lithwood, Seashore, Anderson, Wallstrom, 2004. Meaning, the moment you write, no, the literature, it has to be with citations. No? Do not, ano bang tawag nito? Na as if it's your own opinion, because your own opinion here is not recognized. A certain research work should be empirically driven. No? It should be scientifically driven. Dapat meron kang support na mga data, and you have to cite the names of the authors. Okay. And given that scenario, the school head's role of setting its direction is important, but an issue on the best ways to prepare and develop highly qualified candidates is sparse. So this particular sentence will or is already an indication of the gap of the study. So, ibig kong sabihin dito that, no, ito, no, the school head's role of setting its direction is important, pero there is an issue on how to prepare and develop highly qualified candidates. Kasi konti lang yung, no, konti lang yung mga principals na nagpe-prepare at saka nagde-develop ng mga highly qualified candidates, nagpupursue, nagpupush sa mga teachers. Again, that is backed up by citation again, no, sina author Davis, etc. Okay. Then, yung second na section in writing your introduction is on the local situational analysis of the problem. No? So ideally, dapat meron kang local na backup, local na literature. In my case, there are supplementary literatures crafted, no, in support to the first paragraph. So the Vita of 2005 stated that principals should be visionaries, instructional and curriculum leaders, assessment experts. So we are now looking into the roles of the principal. And with this role of principal in school effectiveness evaluation, studies on competencies of school principals are needed. That's according to Cisneros, Lopez, Barrera of 2007. And it ends with this statement: therefore, the competencies and actions of the turnaround principal to assist in the decision making should be enhanced. So the first two paragraphs will give us a view that indeed there is a problem when it comes to the competence of the principals in public schools. And why do I say in public schools? I back it up with another paragraph no? Which I used the Article 14 of Section 2 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, establishing, maintaining, supporting a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people. So this effectiveness would be achievable if leaders possess competencies and skills essential to the demands of the country. Other publication, yung kanilang third section sa introduction is focused in the gap in the literature that the study intends to address, or the differences of the study from other previous studies, or the compelling reasons of the writer for choosing the problem. So you will see here that in writing your introduction, para ka lang nagbibigay ng story, no? What is happening in the real world. So that's how to write your introduction. I would like to say that in writing your introduction, for publication purposes, ideally, meron tayong tatlong sections. The first is you have to look into the global situational analysis of the problem, to be supported with literature from different continents, and then dagdagan mo yung local situational analysis, and then yung gap of the literature, yung differentness of the study, at saka yung compelling reasons of the writer for choosing the problem. So you have to inform your reader why did you choose this problem. Of course, dito na papasok yung social relevance of the study. Ano ba yung mako-contribute ng study mo sa society? What new knowledge will it contribute to the new society? So that's how to write your introduction. Any question on writing the introduction? Any thoughts there? You can share it to me. If you have tried writing your own paper before and have tried publishing your paper. Wala bang tanong? Shall I proceed? Yes or no? Okay, proceed tayo ha. I hope you are active now noting the details kasi magagamit ninyo ito once you will be told to write an output, no? A research output. Preferably a quantitative research for the meantime. Kasi yung na-discuss natin noon is writing the qualitative. So today, I'll give you a picture on how to write quantitative. Okay, so to proceed, this is how I crafted my framework. Okay, a framework is of course optional ito kapag experimental research, but in my case, I'm doing a quantitative study. I should have included, no? I should include talaga ang framework. This is a theoretical framework. And in the framework, it should contain basic explication of the meaning of the variables of the study. So ano yung mga variables kanina? I am talking about the status. I am talking about the competencies. I am talking about the educational attainment. Yun ang kanilang mga variables. So yung mga variables na yun, hanapan mo siya ng isang theory na pwedeng i-embrace lahat yun na variables. It's not about looking into the variable for status, looking for the variable of educational attainment, or for core competencies, but you can look at a theory as a whole. So in that case, my study is anchored on the management theory as introduced by Prahalad and Hamel in 1990. And what is that management theory? It deals with the core competency, and there are support statements in relation to the theory taken from Prahalad and Hamel on competency theory. And also, you have to present the framework in either textual form or schematic form, which will merge the theories discussed in the study. And hindi na kailangan yung conceptual framework when you write your framework in a publication paper or journal. So ito lang yung paggawa ng framework. Okay, maybe you will ask, asa na kuhaon, no? Saan ba kukunin yung mga theory, no, that will serve as your framework? You have to take note that in educational administration na subject, a lot of theories are being discussed which you can use it, no, to anchor your problem. So doon kayo kukuha. So, halimbawa, kung yung theory mo is it is focused on the behavior of the learners, hanapin mo yung theory on behavior. Hanapin mo yung mga psychologists, no? So ano yung mga na-propose nila ng mga theory, that is where you will use it. Then after that, you have the objectives of the study. By the term objectives, ibig sabihin ano yung aim ng study mo. So in my case, in my paper, in my published paper, I have this objective: assess the level of the core competencies of principals in public elementary and secondary schools. And there are specific objectives. Etong objectives of the study, convertible ito siya sa statement of the problem, no? Kaya lang, yung statement of the problem is stated in an interrogative form, while the objectives of the study is stated in a declarative form. How many objectives of the study do I have here? I have 5 objectives, no? Which is equivalent to 5 statement of the problem. So, ang first objective ko is i-describe ko yung demographic profile ng aking mga respondents in terms of their age, gender, educational attainment, the length of services principal, the number of related trainings attended, the household size, the number of years for public elementary and secondary school principals. So that's the first objective. Ibig sabihin, sa aking questionnaire na nagawa, sinali ko doon yung demographic profile ng aking mga respondents, with the age, gender, educational attainment, up to the number of years as principal. So ang aking respondents are all principals. Then secondly, that's for number 1. Secondly, determine the level of core competencies as perceived by themselves in terms of the context of the principal, technical and managerial capability, strategic management, interpersonal and intrapersonal relationship, academic leadership, coaching, and as link to the community. Okay, sa pangalawang objective na core competency ng principal, marami siyang indicators. Ano yung parameters ng core competencies ng principal? First, context of the principal. Second, technical and managerial capability. Third, strategic management. Fourth, interpersonal and intrapersonal relationship. Then, academic leadership and coaching, and then link to the community. Third objective is to determine the level of principal's core competencies as perceived by teachers in terms of the same indicators. Number 4, compare the level of principal's core competency in terms of principals and teachers' assessment. So, ibig sabihin nito, ang focus ng study ko is ang principal ang i-evaluate. Pero, no, I want to correct what I said a while ago. Ang respondents ng study ko are principals at the same time teachers. So, meaning, the principal has the chance to assess themselves in terms of their competence at the same time na i-assess din sila ng kanilang mga teachers. And the number 5, ito yung objective, determine whether the socio-demographic characteristics significantly influence their level of competencies. So that's for the objectives. So madali lang ang paggawa ng objectives because Ito siya, ang basehan ng objectives mo is yung iyong crafted or yung self-made questionnaire. If not self-made, downloaded questionnaire. Kung mag-self-made ka ng questionnaire, see to it na nag-undergo siya ng pilot testing, nag-cronbach alpha siya to test the reliability of your items. Okay. Next, we have the methodology. When you publish a paper, these are the parts of your methodology to be included. Since this is a social science, no? So meron tayong research design, research site, or sa atin, ginagamit natin yung local. Then you have the participants or the respondents. Then you have instrumentation. Ito yung sa methodology na part. Then you also have the ethics protocol. So sa instrumentation, ethics protocol, you also have the data collection, then you have the statistical treatment. So ito siya ang component ng methodology sa pag-publish ng paper. Okay, what design did I use in my paper? It's a descriptive correlation research design. Bakit ko sinabi na descriptive correlation research design? When I crafted it, I connect it with my statement of the problem, no, yung number 5. And after that, I look at my statistical treatment. So, statistical treatment ko doon is person-R correlation at saka multiple regression. And that one is under descriptive correlation design. Sinabi dito, a survey questionnaire was used to assess the level of principal's effectiveness. Then we also have your research site. So ito yung locale of the study. Where are you going to conduct? And at least how many participants or respondents. So sa research site, in my study, I conducted it to 50 public schools in Kidapawan City Division, 15 for secondary public schools, and then 35 for elementary public schools. So ganoon kadami yung aking na-cover sa aking dissertation paper. And then when it comes to participants, ilang target population meron? So I have 50 public school principals at saka 225 teachers. And I made use of the stratified random sampling. So itong sampling size ito will soon be discussed by those who I assigned. And then you have the instrumentation. So when you say instrumentation, this is just the same as the research instrument. Ito na yung questionnaire mo. It is always advised that you have to come up with a downloaded questionnaire instead of having a self-made questionnaire. Pero kung talagang expert tayo, we can do a self-made questionnaire. However, as mentioned a while ago, mag-undergo yan siya ng reliability test. Okay, what did I consider in my instrumentation? Saan ko ba nakuha yung aking research instrument or questionnaire? The structured questionnaire was used by the researcher as a school principal's core competency assessment instrument, which I adapted from the FAPE of 2008, Fund Assistance for Private Education. And the tool consists of 6 categories. Set of education were answered by the respondents. The first set of evaluation was self-assessment, and this allowed respondents to assess themselves. The second set of evaluation was the assessment of the teachers to their principal. The overall evaluation is the average of the assessment of the principals for themselves and the assessment of teachers for their principals. So yun po ang sa instrumentation. In your case, kung magda-download kayo ng questionnaire, ibig sabihin dito sa instrumentation na part, you have to cite kung ano ang source na inyong questionnaire. And then, ano yung kanyang mga categories and other things which you can include, even the scaling, no? Even the descriptive equivalence, pwede mong ilagay din dito sa instrumentation. Next to that is the ethics protocol. So, in our first two sessions, I guess, we were mentioning about ethical considerations. And in this aspect, sa ethical consideration na ito, ang ginawa ko is I sent letters of permission personally to the leaders in gathering the data. At the same time, gumamit din ako ng informed consent form because kinakailangan ito. No? It's really a protocol to ask permission and then informed consent, and then there has to be voluntary participation. So do not force a respondent, no, kung ayaw niya na mag-join sa iyong study. Next, you have data collection. How did I collect the data? So first, I identified the research respondents. Kanina sinabi ko, stratified sampling. So, ang target population ko is meron dapat akong elementary principals at yung secondary principals. So, ano ako dito is at saka mga of time kung decision dapat within the region ang coverage ng study mo. Pero yung sa akin, it was being approved since the 50 school. Sa yun, puntahan mo. Elementary principles and after that, I presented my lecture, conduct the C to the SDS, then other letters for the school principals, and then retrieval. So it took me 3 weeks to retrieve after its distribution. Ibig sabihin, isa-add mo talaga dito ang retrieval ng survey tool mo if you are going to publish your paper. Then statistical techniques. Use the statistics, mean frequency percentage to test out the level of significance was used by the research and the correspondence to oriented statistics. Paano ba pag-bit ng SPS software? Madali lang ang proseso. Ano ka ng data. Tapos, yung mga commands na paano given the data. Okay, so this is on statistics. To pursue the siya this is how it should be. So I'm talking about age, gender, ito yung binanggit ko kanina sa aking objectives. So ito yung lalabas. Okay? And note that in writing your results and discussion, dapat lahat ng answers mo sa iyong objectives. So, kanina, binanggit ko yung 5 objectives ko. Therefore, I will expect to have tables to support those objectives. So, ito na yung kanyang result. Okay. So, aking second na objective kanina is level of competencies as perceived by the principals themselves. No? So, gusto kong alamin kung ano yung level ng competency ng mga principals as they perceive it. So, sila mismo ang nag-perceive. And it was answered. Hindi ko na nailagay yung table dito. Okay. Kasi ang sinabi dito sa pag-publish ng paper, you may not use tables to discuss your results and discussion. So it's more on a summary on the significant results. This is a summary perceived by the principals themselves in the context of the principal. Ito siya, the technical aspect. Okay. Next is level of principal's core competencies as perceived by their teachers. So, ganun siya, no? Each result should be supported with a literature. So, halimbawa sa level of competency, dapat meron kang support literature. So, ito yung support literature. Ang result muna, then discuss the result. Pagkatapos mong ma-discuss, ang sunod is, anong implication? Ito yung sinabi dito, the data imply that principals are all proficient in the 6 core competencies. The majority of them are proficient in relationship building and maintenance, etc. Pagkatapos mong maglagay ng implication, lagyan mo rin siya ng support literature. Okay, research findings and professional standards revealed a positive effect for principals who are honest, etc. That's according to the study of Marzano et al. So, ganun ang pag-cluster ng inyong results and discussion, ha? First is, you present the result, discuss the result, then write the implication, and then the support literature. Next objective is this level of principal's core competency. So the same style. Ganun pa rin. Ang sunod is level of principal's competency as perceived by the teachers. And then comparison, principal's core competency between principal self-assessment. And then another one is regression analysis. Ito na yung statistics, no? This will answer the question on the influence or what best predict the competence of the principal. Okay. So may isa-isang regression analysis. Okay, ito yung kanyang result. Meron din siyang table. Meron siyang discussion. Okay. Then, after that, you can proceed to writing your conclusion. So, yun ang conclusion. A conclusion should be written in a paragraph form, and then you can highlight here new discovery. So, unsa man imong na-discover? What did you discover after completing the study? And you can include something which contributes to new knowledge. So, in my case, what new knowledge did I contribute? It's on status and educational attainment as predictor of principal's competency. So it will pave teachers to upgrade themselves para mas lalo silang maging competent as well as yung kanilang status. No? Okay, then we have the translational research. So how can you translate your research? In what way will it be of use to others? So sinabi ko dito, the findings of the study may be best translated to various media communication for information dissemination or awareness campaign, or indigenous material such as wallpaper, among others, may be designed for stakeholders from the remote areas and social media to disseminate the information. So that's translational research. And the last part of the publication is literature cited. So in the literature cited, at least merong 5 literature, no, from each continent. So ito talaga yung requirement when you cite your literature. At least 5 from each continent. And it should be a quality literature, and it should be of recent sources. So sa time na ito, 20 year ba yun? 2016 ko man ito na-publish. 10 years ang sinasabi dito na acceptable na source. No, 10 years backward. And then, the literature should be arranged in alphabetical order. It should include authors which are cited in the body of your paper. Kasi kung ano yung ilalagay mo dito sa literature cited mo, dapat mag-appear din yan doon sa iyong literature review, no, sa body of your paper, starting from introduction up to the other parts of the paper. And also yung spacing, follow the referencing style. And of course, all references used should be traceable online. So bawal mag-publish ng paper kung ang iyong mga references ay hindi matrace online. So bawal po iyan. So ngayon, in your case again, ang dami na namang mga websites na pwede niyong pasukan, and it's an advantage, no, kung doon kayo papasok at saka kukuha ng mga literature, kasi nga traceable siya online, mas madaling ma-publish yung trabaho ninyo. Meaning to say, this will also help in minimizing plagiarism. No, kung naka-cross-reference siya at saka matrace online ang imuhang mga references, mga authors, isang indicator yan siya na hindi mo basta-bastang makopya yung trabaho ng ibang tao. Kasi mag-appear man doon, i-highlight man doon na highly plagiarized yung kanyang trabaho. 50% are being copied from a certain author. So, mas lalong malalaman nila na ano lang yan siya. Meron kang copy-paste syndrome na ginamit, no, in writing your paper. Okay, so that's literature cited. So yun po ang isa sa mga examples ng publication paper, no, which will be your guide also by the time na makapagtapos kayo ng master's degree with a research paper, and you will be advised to publish it. So, ganun po ang itsura ng isang publication paper. Okay, any views or any impression based from it? Anyone from the group who is willing or who is eager to publish his own paper? May I hear from si Miss Stella Ismaili and Miss Janice. Parang sila lang dalawa ang estudyante ko ngayon. Ma'am Ste, any thoughts from the presentation? Mahirap ba? Madam? Yes, kasi okay. Mm-mm. Thank you, Miss Stella, for sharing your thoughts with us. Miss Janice?
Um, for me, this is my first publication, and I'm experienced na may teacher ako na nag-publish na diyan sa Philippines, and I'm very proud. So namangha ako sa iyo, Doc. So that's why I said, oh, sana all. Pero siguro, since maliit lang din kami dito, maybe I can also publish my research here as one of the educators, right? So, yun, salamat sa mga ano mo, mga tips
Yes,
at
because
guidance.
I feel na it is worth sharing para
Yes.
mas lalong realistic tayo, no? Kung meron tayong evidence na you have written pala a certain paper and able to publish it so that others can be parang ma-inspire din kayo na kung kaya ng
Inspiring.
isa, kaya ko rin, di ba? Thank you so much,
Inspiring.
Miss Janice. May I hear from asa naman yung uban? Where are these people? Okay, how about JC? Sir JC Espejo. JC? These people are sleeping. John Lee Selma. Miss Lara, please.
Hello, good afternoon. Ma'am, can I ask ma'am what is the correct spacing for the citing the literature? Correct spacing ba?
In publishing your
Literature.
paper. Na-mention ko yung
No,
sa
ma'am.
aspect ng
Ay, literature po. Yung pagsulat ng related literature.
Ano spacing? Spacing?
Yung how many, ano ba, space?
Ilang years ang ibig mo sabihin?
Hindi po. Yung, di ba, may, at least, according to you, at least 5 from each continent daw. So, in every literature from haling sa taas, papunta sa ilalim, mga ilan ba yung pace niya bago mag-start naman ng isa? Yung pagsulat lang, ma'am, ng related literature.
Wala si ma'am. Doc Gemma.
Siguro. Reference ba yung tawag na, yung sabi ni ma'am kanina,
Spacing.
citing the literature, at least 5 from its continent. As
Yes.
it is ma'am, spacing. I'm asking for the correct spacing
Okay,
from
when it
above
comes to
going down.
spacing, double space po. Double space in between reference literature items. And then,
Thank you po.
meron pang dagdag, ma'am. Sorry, nakaligtaan ko rin na nabanggitin kanina. Double space in between reference items and then single space in between lines of each literature. Anyway, there will be a separate discussion doon sa APA, no? The style of writing.
Thank you po.
Okay po. Sige. Some more?
Excuse me po, ma'am.
Yes, Miss Gretel.
Ano po ma'am, nakasulat na po ako ng research po sa region po. Puwede po ba yung naisulat ko doon sa region ay maipublish ko din po sa
Yes.
sabi niyo po na internet
Yes.
po?
You may.
Po.
Pwede. Pwede akong mag-co-author to help you.
Opo.
Ah,
Sige po.
Miss Gretel, you do it kasi sayang. Ang labanan ngayon sa DepEd, magiging ano na, it's no longer more on the presentation of your outputs but it's more on the publication purposes na.
Opo. Twice na po ako naka-compete doon sa region po pero hindi pa po na-publish.
Yeah, sige ma'am, i-publish mo ma'am.
Sige po,
And then,
patulong po ako ma'am.
yes, you will see me.
Sige,
You
thank
see
you po.
me, I can co-author with you. Dali lang kayo na ma'am, bisan pag ako lang mo trabaho ana ma'am.
Salamat
Okay,
po.
yes, co-author ako sa iyo.
Opo.
Yes, I will. I will help you. Tagay ko ninyo og mga research, complete research paper na. Tapos make sure inyong mga references is traceable online ha para I can help you. And then, basta yun lang. I can offer my service. Basta i-co-author din ninyo ako because I am interested in doing that. Gusto din ako na siya buhaton. Thank you so much, Miss Gretel and Miss Stella. Others, please. I would like to hear from Chin Chin. May masabi si Chin Chin? Any comment? Okay, let's go back to the king, Tristan Maliari. Sir. Sir Tristan.
Hello.
Okay, sige.
Yes.
Any thoughts, sir, based on the presentation? Wala. Ay, hindi sila attentive. Okay, so at least nakita ninyo yung itsura ng isang publication paper and I encourage you to publish your own work also. Now, to proceed, let's have a discussion on how to write your related literature. I would like to know kung na-discuss ko ba ito kasi minsan nalilito ako kung sa ibang klase ko ba na-discuss or sa inyo. Please let me know ha. Hindi pa so far. Sandali. I-open ko muna ang PowerPoint. Okay. Presentation. So, for a while po ha, I'll fix. Let me know kung may makita kayo.
Wala pa, ma'am.
Goodness. Goodness, where are you? Where are you? I lost it for a while. My goodness, asa naman ito? It's here. Na? Nakita nyo?
Opo, makita
Nana,
po.
Yes, Doc.
Ano na?
ay, wala-wala.
Nawala.
Wala-wala,
Okay.
Jo.
Yan na po.
Okay, how to write a review of related literature. I got this topic from the book of Dr. Amorado. No? So, he is an award-winning researcher and author of a lot of books. Specifically, ang kanyang book is on mga corruption aspect. Mga research niya is more on what's happening in the society. So, let me start. These are according to his views on how to write a review of related literature. He started his book with part 1, which is moving in. And with that, ang kaniyang binanggit is napakahirap, no, sa isang tao ang paggawa ng research paper. From Forester of 2000, na sinasabi ito, write your first draft with your heart and rewrite it with your head. So as a researcher, tayo bilang isang, hindi naman sabihin natin na expert na mga researcher, ito yung dapat isaalang-alang natin that we have to write our draft with our heart. and rewrite it again with our head. Which means to say that we have to put passion into writing research. Kasi pag hindi magiging maganda yung ating output. No? So that can be one of the things na pwede natin i-consider when it comes to the view of Forrester. And there are many styles and techniques in writing RRL, and there is no hard and fast rule. However, as experience, I noticed that most of our students do not know how to apply these styles and techniques in writing RRL. They are just fond of copy-pasting. Nagka-copy-paste lang talaga sila. And once mag-i-issue kami ng Certificate of Originality sa mga estudyante, mag-a-undergo nila ng plagiarism checking yung kanilang paper at saka Grammarly. And we found out that ang similarity index is very high. Aabot ng 45%. If not, it's more than half. So, something is wrong with the style or technique in writing the RRL. And also, according to Amurado, scholarly work in research, keep tab of what you read, write, and espouse. We have to develop the habit of reading, and then noting down details with an index card with us so that we may not be able to forget details of what we have read. No? So yun dapat ang ating magiging habit. Okay, here is a question which says, based on your experience in writing your paper, what part of writing interests you? Why? And what do you find the most enjoyable or the most difficult, and why? I would like to hear your views on this. Based on your experience, what part of writing interests you? And what do you find the most enjoyable or the most difficult? May I hear from Mary Grace Tenizo? Grace? Is Grace here?
Yes, Doc.
Yes po. Sige ma'am, ikaw ma'am.
Yung as in writing po, yung part na enjoyable.
Yes.
Siguro based on ano po, Doc? Based in my own idea lang po, Doc, ha? Okay. Ano po, based on yun sa yung personal experience niyo po na ma-share ko po na sinusulat ko. Personal experience, yung yun po, yung mas ma-enjoy ko po yung personal experience ko po na sinusulat ko. Okay, in terms of
ano sa writing ang kapag bigay ng happiness sa iyo, which one did you enjoy most? Anong part of writing? Is it writing, your introduction?
Ano, Doc? Yung writing, oh yeah. Opo, Doc. Writing, the introduction. At saka yung, ano po, Doc, yung ibig sabihin niyo po, Doc, yung sa, ano natin po, sa, in writing, sa thesis po, yung mga...
Yes.
Okay. Yung sa ano po, Doc, yung sa introduction, kasi po, yun po na-express po personally yung about po sa yung title o yung ating sinusulat po. Yes. Introduction po, Doc. Kasi doon po natin i-express about ano po ang nais po nating ipahayag o nais pong ibig sabihin o yung purpose po ng ating sinusulat po.
Okay, which is the most difficult part?
Ulan.
Yes, sige.
Kaya, sino to?
Miss Grace.
Ako na po.
Yes, Miss Grace.
So far, Doc, sa akin po, wala po akong experience po, Doc, ha, pero siguro yung the hardest part siguro ng pagsulat. Siguro yung ano na po, Dok, yung ano ba? yung ano na, Dok, yung nasa, yung sa kalagitnaan na po ng ano, yung about sa research na, yung about na yung, kumbaga yung content na kasi kailangan mong kuha ng mga maraming mga information, mga data. Yun po siguro,
Method.
Dok.
Okay. One more idea, Vanessa Joy Bungaos.
Ay, sa
Vanessa?
ma'am ako, ma'am.
Okay, Sarah.
Good afternoon po, ma'am. Para po sa akin, ma'am, ang most interesting po na sa paggawa po ng thesis, ma'am, is una-una po, interesting po yung pagbuo muna ng pamagat ng isang pananalisip po siya. And then yung kung ano pa most enjoyable naman po is yung paano mo i-conduct yung iyong study. So halimbawa, survey ka, maraming tao yung namuha mo. So meaning, hindi lang po yung knowledge na makukuha mo, ma-develop din po yung self-confidence po. At saka na ilang knowledge na makukuha mo. At saka mas may enjoy pa po na makipag-cooperate po sa ibang tao po. Yun lang po, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone from the group who would like to share? Yes.
Ako po, Dok.
Okay, Johnny.
The first question that what is the most valuable is that writing objective study, because in writing study you learn how you to subjective study, matutunan mo dito kung paano ano ang ma-achieve mo sa study mo. While the difficult part is that when you now have the results discussion. Kasi po, as we all know that the results discussion is derived from the objective study. Ako, mas ano ko sa results kasi mahirapan tayo doon kasi mag-relate natin doon po sa ating objectives of the study. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir John. Yes, Stella, you are opening your microphone. Thank you.
Hindi.
What do you think? Bakit ang RL gives substance to research. Okay. Give some definitions. RL is a method for identifying, evaluating, and synthesizing the existing body of completed and work produced issues. The difficult part in the writing process is first which is the same as the thoughts of Dr. Amorado. Kasi sabi niya, ang pinakamahirap na part sa pagsusulat ay kung ano yung isusulat mo na unang sentence sa isang sa first paragraph ng iyong chapter 1. So, ganun din, no? But if you have read a lot of literature review, mas madali mo lang yun siya ma-conceptualize. So we have another definition of literature review. It's an original work based on a critical review of the literature on a topic. It is a synthesis, the combining of often varied and diverse ideas, forces, or factors into coherent or consistent complex of the literature on a topic. It may also mean the process of collecting, selecting, and reading reference materials, including electronic resources, to get relevant information about the problem under investigation. It is designed to identify related research, to set the current research project within a conceptual and theoretical context. It's a body of text that aims to review the critical points of current knowledge, including substantive findings as well as the theoretical and methodological contributions of a particular topic. And it is primarily and liberally any printed material used for research reference. And also, his speech, no? Ano ba yung essence ng kanyang speech, and then i-connect mo yun siya, you get one of the highlights of his speech, and then you can do it like this. Ito yung kanyang line of thought, crookedness that had become the norm for too long. So it takes skills, no, in writing your RRL. Okay, here are some functions of RRL. Uh, Allow archival research when we score and dig on printed materials. Scan the extent of generated knowledge. Know what is known in order to know the unknown, and then the knowledge gaps. And show why your research is important, and show what it can add to existing research or body of knowledge. So very clear that ang purpose or ang function ng RRL is to show and identify gaps in the research and literature. So pag gagawa tayo ng research, hindi pwede yung kung ano lang yung naisip mo, yun na agad, no? When you start conceptualizing your research, see to it na you have read a lot of literature and you were able to note down what are the gaps of these previous literatures, previous studies. So, yun talaga ang pinaka-importante. And also, you have to demonstrate an understanding and increase the breadth of your knowledge in your field. So, do not choose a topic which is not your interest, which is not in the field of your interest, kasi mahirapan ka. So, meaning, if you are going to read literature, see to it that nandoon na sa isip mo kung ano talaga ang gusto mo na topic. Therefore, kung ano yung gusto mo na topic, alam mo na kung ano yung parameters noon, and then you can start looking into the previous studies. No? So that's how to do it. Yung iba kasi, ang nakikita ko sa pagsulat nila ng literature review, i-copy-paste lang yun nila. Halimbawa, ang kanilang topic is about performance. So, humahanap sila ng mga related literature about performance, tapos automatic ipang copy-paste lang nila without looking into the knowledge gaps, without looking into ang intellectual content ba. And you try to look into the position of the researcher. Kung nag-argue ba siya, kung nag-conform ba siya sa mga previous studies na conducted. No? So that's how to look into your RRL. Kaya nga, napaka-importante itong RRL kasi this includes a summary and evaluation of the past research. So tanawon nimo ang iya, basahon nimo iyang research, unsa di ay iyang findings sa study. And then from the findings of the study, you can now start conceptualizing also by looking at the recommendations. Ito yung findings sa kanyang study that teacher performance is significantly related to the attitude or to burnout, no, of the teachers. So, meaning to say, alam mo na ang author na yun, ang kanyang evaluation is merong significant relationship yung mga variables na yun. How about you bilang isang researcher? What are you going to look at? Ano kaya yung magiging uniqueness ng iyong study sa previous study na nabasa mo? So with that, in terms of the uniqueness, you have to look into past research at saka tingnan mo ano yung kanilang gap of the study. Maybe sasabihin nila na ang study na ito is focused only for the master teachers, no? Performance ng master teachers. So hahanap ka ng ibang study na ma-associate mo pa rin sa iyong na-conceptualize na topic. Okay. Another one is, ito na binabanggit ko kanina, you should have to show similarity and then differences, or meron bang mga consistencies or inconsistencies sa mga previous research. So yun ang hanapin mo sa iyong RRL. No, yun ang basahin mo. And then, writing RRL is actually writing the entire research. So kung magbasa kayo na isang research, automatically, you have to bear in mind na ang RRL is not just located doon sa chapter 2 or 3. It starts from chapter 1 or chapter up to the last chapter. Yun ang sa RRL. So it is composed of the entire research. Therefore, if you are going to gather related literature, wag lang doon sa chapter na merong related literature talaga. But you have to look into the introduction. Also, you have to look into the other parts of the paper. So RRL is not just in one chapter. No? The entire research is actually writing the RRL because we can attribute or cite literature or references anywhere in our research. So ang RRL can be found sa chapter 1, meron din sa chapter 2, and other parts of the paper. Take note kanina sa publication paper na naipresent ko, sa chapter 1 pa lang, ang dami ng mga citations, ang dami ng mga pangalan ng mga authors. It means to say na meron ng inclusion sa mga literature review na iyong nabasa. Okay, next we have here theory of RRL. So why do we need to study about RRL? So ito yung kanyang mga theory. For knowledge, scoping, and leveling, that is to know the known and the unknown. And then benchmarking, you have to know the extent and level of knowledge generation. And then locating knowledge, that is situating the research with existing literature. And then resonating with knowledge, that is affirmation or association with other literature and knowledge reinforcement. And then referencing as another theory, that is through attribution and citation and the knowledge multiplier. Oftentimes, ito yung sa referencing ang ginagamit natin na theory sa RRL, no? We always cite the work of other people, and some of the phrases na isinusulat natin is being attributed to a lot of sources. Konti lang yung gumagamit ng resonation aspect na theory. But then, this is still a very useful theory when you are going to consider your RRL. Ito maganda dito yung knowledge scoping and leveling. So, yun ang binanggit ko kanina, I'm talking about the gap of the study. So, alamin mo muna kung ano yung na-contribute na knowledge ng isang study, at saka alamin mo din kung ano yung unknown sa kanyang study. So, that's all about the theory of your RRL. So, RRL is the meat of research. It is the foundation of the research manuscript. Kaya nga, mas nabibigyang substance sa isang paper kapag merong RRL. These are all in scientific form. So, minsan nga hindi na ginagamit yung Wikipedia. No, yung mga, yes, Wikipedia, hindi na siya basta-bastang ina-allow when you are going to write your RRL. And then, RRL writing style should already be evident in the first chapter up to the last chapter. And RRL may not be a separate chapter, as all chapters are already RRL by nature. So in this case, sa CMC na standard, when writing an exploratory approach or concurrent triangulation design, mga mixed method approach, ang chapter 1, nandoon na yung introduction, nandoon na yung worldview and theoretical lens, nandoon na rin yung audience, yung purpose statement, yung research questions, at saka yung literature review. So na-merge na siya. So ito yung ibig sabihin. RRL may not be a separate chapter. So, chapter 1 na siya dito sa CMC kapag ang study mo is a mixed method design. It is the barometer of the extent of materials collected, read, analyzed, or referenced. Okay. Then, it's both technical writing and creative writing. So, Advantage ito sa mga English teachers, no? Kasi pag alam mo yung composition writing, alam mo yung pagsulat ng mga essay, mga stories, no? Ways of writing stories, storytelling na mga phrases, mas madali para sa inyo ang paggawa ng RRL. Unlike others who settled on the old habits and bad habits. So you start reflecting now, kung ganito ka ba noon habang nagsusulat na iyong research. Are you that one who always enumerate literature and restate literature? Are you the one who copy-paste? Meron kang copy-paste syndrome? Or you deliberately plagiarize? Or are you the one who plagiarize unintentionally because you were not able to record it and organize it? Or are you the one who has this mediocrity of compliance? Or are you the one who is thinking about shelf life tragedy? So ito yung mga old habits natin, no, bad habits, when we write our RRL. Kasi sa isip natin, hindi yan basahin lahat-lahat. Ilalagay yan sa library. So, shelf life tragedy. Paagup-upan na siya diha kung sa Bisaya pa, no, in layman's term. Or, for compliance purposes, bahala na si Ma'am Ani mag-study. Or maybe, hindi mo alam na plagiarize mo na pala simply because you lack the skills in recording, in collating the data, and organizing the data. Or you deliberately plagiarize kasi nagmamadali ka, para ma-beat ko yung deadline, I have to copy and paste literature studies. Okay. So when you talk about mediocrity of compliance, ito po yung ating examples. We have here, wala siya, no? Okay, sandali lang ha. Okay, mediocrity of compliance would mean the following. Ito, start reflecting now para matapos lang ang thesis ko. So, may masubmit lang sa teacher. Just to meet the requirements. I just need a degree for promotion. I'll just let my staff do the writing. So the question is, why do we waste our intellect, effort, time, and money just for compliance? When you write your research, it takes intellectual effort and time and money to complete it. So, do you settle for mediocrity? So that's a question to ponder on. Next, we have the shelf life tragedy. Okay, most research works end up being stuck in a hoarding fashion in the offices or library shelves, gathering dust and growing molds. So why do we waste our intellect, effort, time, and money in the dust and molds? Kaya nga ngayon, we are all encouraged to publish our paper para ma-utilize yan siya ng ibang mga researchers. So that other researchers may be able to look at the recommendations of your study or the unknown part of your study. The shelf life tragedy. Huwag natin ilagay sa isip na, dyan man lang yan siya sa library. Ilabay na pag-abot sa panahon. So, let's do away from that old bad habit of telling people na hanggang sa library shelves lang ito. Next. Okay, it's difficult, even impossible to develop good researchers who can produce and write good research with the old bad habits which continue to be rampant. framework as well as the other parts of the research. It is creative and engaging. It's just a mere collection of existing literature. It is elaborate that overlaps or combines with many styles and techniques. Key is creativity. It shows balance between the researcher's ideas and concept and the existing literature properly referenced by attribution or citation. So yun ang mga characteristics ng maganda na pagkasulat ng review of related literature. One that serves for the conceptual or theoretical framework, one that is creative and engaging. So hindi lang yung collect ng mga existing literature. One that combines with many styles and techniques, one that is showing creativity and has to be properly attribution and citation. Proper attribution and citation, I should say. Okay, so when you write your RRL, it's more than a review of existing literature. The thing there is to engage and interact with the literature with the aim of locating and positioning the research for the existing body of knowledge. So sa pagsulat ng RRL, meron tayong mga parts. No, you have the introductory part, you have the main body, and the conclusion or the synthesis. So like any other essay, a review of related literature should be structured with, ito yung may introductory aspect, merong body aspect, at saka merong concluding aspect. So when you introduce RRL, you have your provide a context for reviewing the literature. At the same time, you have to establish your reason. What's your point of view for reviewing the literature? Ang sunod is, you have to explain the organization. Ano ba yung sequence of the review? So others will start from, yung iba ha, meron silang local setting, no? Meron din silang national setting, meron international setting. Or yung iba naman, they will start from the recent, no, igrupo-grupo nila, halimbawa 2022 na mga studies, 2021 na mga studies. So may mga chronological order na pina-follow when they introduce their literature review. You also have to state the scope of the review. What is included at saka what is not included para mas specific siya. So that's how to start writing your introduction sa RRL. And then, next to your introductory part is yung body. In the body, you have to organize the literature according to common themes. So depende na yan siya sa style ng isang institution. All papers that I have read, it's more on kanang mga year, no, by year, ang kanilang style. Not minding the themes, but today, we are always looking into the themes first, no, themes muna. And once we have organized the literature according to themes, you can now start looking into the relationship between your chosen topic and the subject area. And then, dito mo ma-notice, meron na mga interactions. And in the interaction aspect, magagamit mo yung mga skills. No? May mga technique paano isulat yung RRL. That is body with different techniques. And you should have a specific focus of your research. Then the last part in writing your RRL is your conclusion. This one summarizes the important aspects of the existing body of literature, and also the conclusion forms part the evaluation of the current status of the literature reviewed. Ano yung status ng literature na nabasa mo? And at the same time, in here, sa conclusion, pwede mo na i-identify dito ang gap in existing knowledge. Ano yung mga flaws? ano yung mga gaps in existing knowledge. And lastly, you can link your research to existing knowledge. So that's how to write the conclusion in your literature review. Okay. So there are important skills in writing. Kung ikaw ay isang researcher, isang writer, you have to look into this. There are 5. No? Dapat meron kang skill, how to organize your literature, how to do stock taking, and then para ma-process mo yung literature. Another one, dapat alam mo yung script writing, no? Story writing style, script writing. And then the other one is be able to develop transition. So halimbawa, isang author nagsasabi, ganito ang kanyang views about, say for example, let's talk about work ethics. So kung ganun ang view ni author A, ang sunod naman na ilalagay mo is, meron bang author na nag-agree sa kanya, sa kanyang statement? Then ang sunod na naman na pwede mong ilagay is, meron namang author na nag-negate sa kanyang views about work ethics. So that is actually part of forming transition. So there are many ways to develop transitions. Mamaya makikita niyo yung mga examples. And then logic making and then referencing. Oftentimes, dito tayo magaling sa referencing. No? Referencing at saka itong script writing and literature organizing. A few of us is not so skilled in number 3 and number 4. Kasi nga, ang ating reason, we don't have enough time, etc., etc. Okay, how do we organize literature? How do we take stocks? And how do we process the literature? This is done through document information collection or matrix collection. Okay, ito yung example. Anyway, I will post this one in your CILID LMS para makita ninyo. So, single document information collation. Then, we also have matrix collation, multiple literature. So, yung ani po daw itsura sa inyong index card, no? Kung naano mo yung nabasa ng mga literature, it's not enough to just read it. You have to have with you a piece of paper, a piece of index card, tapos meron na kayong template doon. Fill in what you have read. Kasi, i-sort out mo yan at the end of the day. Kung applicable ba ito o hindi sa iyong na-conceptualize na study. Okay, this is another template. We have here techniques in writing a good RRL. Inventory, resonation, compare and contrast, reinforce and debunk, converge and diverge, and then departure. Sinabi dito, a good RRL does argue, persuade, combining two or more techniques with the aim of supporting an assertion or drive home the point. So, ang magandang RRL daw, kung ikaw ang reader, nakikita mo yung argumentation or persuasion na pagsulat, no? So, what is this? What are some of the other techniques? Inventory. So, meron tayong example dito ng inventory. So, i-analyze ninyo yung pagkasulat na yan. Bakit kaya siya sinasabi na inventory? Please take note, there are lots of authors being cited like Constantino, Simbulan, Garcia, Concepcion, Delio, etc. So, ang pagsulat ni Amorado is giving us a view about what has caused poverty in the Philippines, no? Ito yung kanyang concept. At saka hindi niya iniisa-isa yung mga study ni halimbawa Constantino said ganon. It's not that way. But his technique is I-gather niya lahat, ano yung views, and he wrote a one or two sentence na na-cover na yung views ng ibang mga authors. Ito na yung kanyang ginawa. So please analyze this one. This is an inventory way of writing your RRL. Okay. This is another example of inventory. Ito, gi-itemize niya. Number one, structural theory for Granovetter. Another theory for Putnam, for Bossivan, and then Carnegie. And the focus is about social capital in different schools. Okay, next. We have resonation. What do we mean when we say resonation? Please consider your Google. Ano ibig sabihin ng resonation? This is another writing technique. Would like to answer? Or you can analyze the example and why do you say it's resonation? Sa anong point dyan nag-resonate ang statement? Please analyze. Johnny? Is Johnny still there?
Yes, ma'am, but I'm looking the answer in the Google for the
Oh, sige.
Nahanap ko pa po kung anong definition ng resonation.
Anyone from the group who would like to recite, please open your microphone. Pakibasa ninyo yung resonation in Alejo 2010 at saka maintindihan ninyo anong ibig sabihin ng resonation. Please take note, andito tayo sa paano ba gawin yung RRL, ha, paano isulat. It's more on writing.
Resonation, ma'am, is repeat. Like,
Yes.
the second sentence, many conflicts in violence, and then meron din siyang corruption in post-conflict situations. Under.
So,
Doon banda siya nag-resonate.
pakibasa nga mo nga yung example.
Many conflicts, all and much violence today originate in corruption and bad governance amidst lawlessness or the abuse of law. And then dito naman sa corruption in post-conflict situation may undermine previous peace efforts. This focus requires expertise and deep spirituality and integrity that involves the capacity to listen the voices and the cries of those who suffer abuses and a careful work and advocacy at an institutional level.
Okay, thank you. So, what's your understanding about resonation?
Okay, can I share, ma'am?
Yes po.
Okay, here, ma'am, in the my ano po, resonation, it is to exhibit or produce, to evoke a feeling of shared emotion or belief. And it is, yun nga po, to produce or exhibit resonance, a respond as if by resonance po or
Wala si ma'am.
Nawala siya.
Yes, ma'am. Nawala siya na
Wala.
signal.
Oh.
Ay, kaya pala sabi ko lang, akala ko
Share din ang photo sa ating group chat.
ay patay, wala na.
Ay, 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 ay.
Okay lang, recorded naman to eh.
Andito, you lost your network connection trying to reconnect. We will wait na lang. We will wait for Doc Gemma na lang here.
Mm-mm.
Sige.
Hi, Ma'am Ste.
Kamusta na ba ang lahat?
Excited na si
No,
Sir
ma'am.
Jan.
Pressured pa rin sa academic. Normal na mag-question mo. Okay ra mag-question. Normal lang na.
Ihatag na lang sa amo ang question.
No, kayo mismo provide them. So if you have questions, give us a copy of your
Answer.
questions.
O bitaw, ikaw.
Pero okay na normal na questions pag may mag-report talaga, normal man ang questions ay.
Para meaning naminaw, no? Para meaning
Oo,
naminaw.
tama gid Ma'am Janice. Oo. Okay ra na ay. Pero so
Pwede
far,
ang question, single ka pa, sir.
kailangan na lang na. Ay, nako.
Natay klase ugma.
Kay Sir Kwan, ma'am. Kay Sir Felix. Alauna.
Sa kay Doc Jem, wala niya. Nandyan na siya.
Mag-ask pa ta ngayon sa kanya
I'm
kasi
back
ang
again.
schedule din sa kanya is 3:30.
Sorry, nawala.
Nawala ka,
Oo,
ma'am.
many times na. Palagi nag-connection loss. Pasensya po.
Okay lang po.
Okay, dali ha. Ano yun? Balik na naman ako. Okay, let's notice the ano yun? Paano ba sinulat yung resonation? Notice the term echoed, no? It says here, citing a promotio, justicia, exhortation, alejo, echoed. Many conflicts and much violence today originated in corruption and bad governance amidst lawlessness or the abuse of law. Corruption in post-conflict situations may undermine previous peace effort. This focus requires expertise and a deep spirituality of integrity that involves the capacity to listen to the voices and the cries of those who suffer abuses, and a careful work of advocacy at an institutional level. What makes it resonating?
It affects someone's emotion.
Affect someone's emotion. Ang way of writing, no? I'm talking about the way of writing. So, ibig sabihin nito, Alejo supported, no, the view about promoting justice exhortation, or he supported the view about corruption in post-conflict situations. Sandali a while po. Dali lang. R So the term resonating would mean to relate harmoniously, to have a repetitive pattern that resembles resonance. So makikita mo ang way of writing niya, no? The way the paragraph is written is supportive, no, sa previous na concept. Many conflicts and much violence today originate in corruption and bad governance, and corruption in post-conflict situations may undermine previous peace efforts. Okay, let's proceed to the next one. This is another way of technique, no, resonation with combining with inventory. So ang focus dito is, ang concept dito is all about still corruption, and merong inventory because these authors are being stated here na na-cite yung kanilang mga pangalan. No? So pareho sila ng view about the problem of corruption. So resonation combining with inventory. So that's how to write it. And then another one is compare and contrast. Another technique for writing. So talagang mahirap ang technique na ito, no? Mahirap ito gawin, especially kung kulang tayo ng inputs, no? At saka kung hindi natin na-organize yung ating mga literature, magsaksak sinagol na siya, we will not be able to compare and contrast the concepts, no? So ito ang na-review na paper. So in here, sa pag-compare and contrast, nakikita naman natin itong conjunction dito na but. This but here will lead us to understand na meron talagang comparison aspect and contrasting sa kanyang presentation of literature. So in here, some forms of social capital networks emerge as comparable figures. Ito na siya, nagpapatunay that this is a statement of comparison, and then contrast one because of the presence of but. Then, another one is reinforce and debunk. This is stronger than resonation and contrast. So, there are two emerging views on social capital as it relates to the issue of corruption. On one hand, social capital is an effective tool to combat corruption. So, ang opposite niyan, that is debunk. But on the other hand, social capital is in fact a promotion of corruption. Nakikita natin sa reinforce, it's giving us a positive input about social capital. Pag debunk na, it's the opposite, no? It's the opposite na concept na about social capital. So, yun ang sa reinforce and debunk. Then, another example, reinforce and debunk. The first sentence, first, second, third sentences are evidences of reinforce as well as debunk. Tingnan natin ano ba yung kabaliktaran nitong statement dito. Si Jornskov is more upfront in arguing that social capital prevents corruption. By adopting Putnam's social capital elements of trust and honesty in society, Jornskov treats social capital as a tool to combat corruption. So ito yung mga concept dito, no? One na nag-argue that social capital can prevent corruption, and another one statement telling us that it can be a tool to combat corruption. Reinforce pala ito. Meaning to say, nag-back up siya sa first statement, no?
Nawala na po siya. Nawala si Doc, di ba? Hello, Doc. O, bitaw. Wala siya.
Wala na po akong
Wala ako sa Kidapawan ngayon, ma'am.
wala ulan dari sa Kidapawan.
Si Doc Gemma sa si Doc Gemma, I'm lost again. Post ko na lang ito later sa silid. About to end naman din ito. Thank you, everyone. Yes, ma'am. Pero I'm keep asking on her kasi kung baka bukas meron siyang klase. Pero so far, wala pa man siyang binigay na info. Pero ngayong araw, wala talaga.
Mga ma'am and sir, kanang ugma na po tayo klase sa kanina subject?
Wala na, ma'am.
Wala na. Kano sana
Statistics na lang po ang klase bukas. Statistics kay Sir Felix at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Kano sana po datong sunod na klase, sir? Dari kay Ma'am Gemma.
Kasi lagi sila ta mag-chat lang ta niya ani kay mga tanan ta perme.
Okay.
Pero ato accreditation visit sa MA kay May 20 naman ang final schedule nila. Online siya, ma'am. Online po. Kasi yung nilang kwan sa kanila. Okay, Friday man po, classic. Duty mo po naman ng Friday. Di pa pwede mag-kwan kami kay may duty po kay Friday, ana.
Di ba mga officers lang man apila na?
Selected, ma'am, sa tong klase, ma'am. Si Doc Gemma nandyan na.
Na ano siya na-select?
Wala pa, ma'am.
Okay.
Sila mismo magpili, ma'am.
Kay sa 310 man good na mo kay all
Doc Gemma,
officers.
dito na sa ating kwan. Nandiyan si Ma'am Gemma. Okay,
Nawala siya dun, balik.
Nawala siya.
Okay, it's here again. Ay, andito na naman siya. Can I just post this one in your Silid LMS?
Yes,
Yes
ma'am.
po, ma'am.
Yes po,
Yes,
Doc.
Doc.
Yes po.
Doc.
Dali.
Yes po,
Hello,
ma'am.
stable
Yes,
tayong
journalist.
connection, no? It's so
Real struggle.
lagi-lagi. Sige, I'll just post this one sa Silid LMS kasi meron na rin akong dumating na bisita. Okay? So, I hope to see you again
Opo,
next meeting.
Doc.
Anyway, we will have to
Doc.
discuss it again. So, balik natin to siya. Then let's go over,
Okay, Doc.
let's try critiquing a certain literature review para ma-apply natin. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, bye, Doc. Thank you din po.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
Bye, Doc. Thank you.
Ma'am Ste, pakisend sa